I have a husband who is not only handsome and wealthy but also loves me dearly. Not long after we got married, my sister-in-law was diagnosed with liver cancer and needed a transplant. After testing, I was the only compatible donor in the family. But shortly after the transplant, my sister-in-law passed away due to rejection. My mother-in-law and husband blamed me for her death and sent me down to join her. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day I was supposed to sign the donation agreement. I threw down the pen and said, "I'll donate, but what are you willing to give in return?" "Your lives, perhaps?" My husband, Declan Turner, looked at me with sudden anger. "Didn't we agree that if you save Nora, our whole family will be eternally grateful? Nora is so close to you. You wouldn't want to see her lose her life so young, would you?" When I stayed silent, he resorted to emotional blackmail again. Never mentioning what they'd offer me, just expecting me to give up half my liver to save his sister. My mother-in-law, Beatrix Carter, looked like she was about to start shouting. I tapped the agreement on the table, and she closed her mouth. She took a deep breath and said, "Cora, are you worried about something? Tell me, and I'll fix it for you." Only then did I slowly speak up. "Mom, didn't I say? You know there are risks with donating. I need something in return." "Nothing will happen. The expert we found is top-notch and won't let anything go wrong. Besides, everything I have will eventually be yours." She pretended to act in my best interest. In my past life, I was fooled by this facade, signed the liver donation agreement, and ended up being killed by this heartless family. I met my husband by chance. One day after work, a creep was following me, and he saved me. After finding out I was single, he pursued me relentlessly. He said it was love at first sight. He sent flowers to my office every day and took me out to dinner. He took me out on weekends. He was completely devoted to me. My coworkers were all envious. After all, I was an orphan girl, and he was not only handsome and kind but also a modestly wealthy businessman. It seemed like I had a stroke of luck. He was 8 years older than me and said he'd been busy building his career and hadn't found the right person. After meeting me, he felt it was time to marry. I was skeptical about such good fortune, but he said his family consulted fortune tellers, and not marrying this year would affect his business. Business people often believe in this. Under his persuasion, we quickly got married. The first time I met my sister-in-law, she was very affectionate, constantly calling me sister-in-law and personally made a gift for me. My mother-in-law also gave me several sets of valuable jewelry on our wedding day, and the attendees praised how kind his family was to me. I didn't notice anything wrong. Shortly after the wedding, my mother-in-law tearfully told us my sister-in-law had liver cancer and needed a liver transplant to survive. My husband said we should ask all relatives to do a compatibility test, to see if anyone could donate, as donating a liver wouldn't affect one's life. Under their persuasion, I naively went for the test. My husband reassured me it was just for show for his mom and unlikely to succeed. But I was the only successful match. My mother-in-law tearfully said her husband had passed away a few years ago, and now all her focus was on her 2 children. Declan was married, so she wasn't worried, but Nora was so young. If she died, how could she live? She implied that if I didn't save her, it would be my fault if Nora died. My husband promised it was just a liver donation, not dangerous, and they'd be grateful to me forever. All their property would be ours in the future. I said I didn't marry him for his money. Upon hearing this, he was even more patient and caring. But he constantly looked troubled in front of me. Feeling sorry for him, I softened and agreed. But my sister-in-law still didn't survive the rejection after surgery. My mother-in-law blamed my liver for being bad, causing my sister-in-law's death, and hit me, completely ignoring that I had just donated my liver and was recovering from surgery. I thought my husband would be reasonable and went to him. I found him and his ex-girlfriend discussing how to get rid of me. Turns out I was just a tool they had planned to use to save his sister. In shock, I dropped my phone, alerting the 2 inside. Afraid of being exposed, my husband personally pushed me down the stairs, saying his sister would be lonely underground and since I was so good to her, I should go down and continue taking care of her. Perhaps the heavens couldn't tolerate this family's actions and gave me a chance to start over. This time, I will make them pay. Thinking of this, I looked at my eager husband, pretending to hesitate. But what if after the surgery, I'm not well, and you end up disliking me? Hearing my concession, my husband and mother-in-law both relaxed. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. If he ever wrongs you, I won't recognize him as my son, my mother-in-law promised. I picked up the pen, and they thought I was going to sign. They exchanged a glance, smiles forming. I spun the pen in my hand but didn't sign. Cora, as long as you sign, all our property will be yours, Declan promised. If it's going to be mine eventually, why not transfer it to me first? Then I'll feel assured. Their smiles froze. It took a while for Declan to find his voice. We're all family. I said I'll give it to you later, so why aren't you assured? I trust you, husband. But I'm just nervous about the surgery. Since it's all going to be mine, let me feel at ease first. I suggested kindly. Then, I excused myself to the restroom to take care of something. I left the room for the mother and son. When I returned, they had come to an agreement. Knowing them, they were either planning to manipulate the gift contract or plotting how to quietly get rid of me after the donation. As soon as I entered, Declan approached. I'll give you 2 houses in my name. Sign this first, and I'll transfer them to you later, okay? No, I need the house first to feel at ease. They were anxious, but I wasn't. Seeing my insistence, they had to go back and sign the property transfer agreement. I deliberately chose the notary office to sign. My husband and mother-in-law wore sullen expressions. What do you mean by this? Are you afraid we won't keep our promise? My mother-in-law asked angrily. No, you misunderstood. I just don't know much and thought this place was convenient. Let's sign quickly so we can go to the hospital. With the big promise hanging in front of them, they reluctantly completed the gift contract under the staff's guidance. On the way to the hospital, I casually mentioned. After the surgery, I won't be able to work for a long time. Without money, I'll be in a bad mood. My mother-in-law, who had a sullen face the whole way, retorted without kindness. Didn't you just get 2 houses worth over 10 million? How can you have no money? Then should I sell the houses?